Good morning, guys. Katz and Rajan, good to see you, man. Am I saying your name right? All right, waiting for a guest or two to hop on into. But holy freaking cow. Bullish out there. Bullish as hell. Jeez. All right, let me see if I can get Henry up. Katz, you're welcome too. Moisty, I think, is coming. Should maybe plan a little better and get them here at the start, right? Whatever. Yeah, Moisty's joining. Katz, is that music too loud? How is that level? Whatever. All right. Let's get in. A little loud. All right. Let me pull that way down here. Yeah. Good morning, guys. What a freaking week, huh? And honestly, I'll say, like, who'd have thought? Like, I really wasn't expecting us to do what we're doing this. I know it's late in the year, but this early. Was totally thinking still January is when we do any kind of damage to the market. I'm shocked. And there's the perfect storm brewing for this to not only continue, but I guess to also be much bigger than I thought too. And that's come January. So we'll get into the perfect storm. Hopefully Moisty's here to talk about that a bit too, because part of that has to do with the Yuga Labs and Magic Eden announcement. But, oh good, I do see Moisty here. Hey, good morning, bro.
Hey, brother, can you hear me?
I hear you. Good
Awesome,
shit.
Awesome, man.
Welcome.
Thank you, man. Happy to finally make it on the show. Obviously, you know I love what you're doing, so.
Thank you, man. I love what you're doing.
Honored to be here.
I love what you're doing. Yeah, that was surprising. I didn't realize when that news came out. Like, I was a little out of commission yesterday, so I missed some stories like the OpenSea cutting half their employees. I thought it was something that happened yesterday that I missed, and then realized it was just like 20 minutes or so, like earlier, right, from this morning when you first mentioned it. So, like, really, really fresh news.
So this is this morning. It was announced probably an hour ago. And it makes sense why Magic Eden is one of the sponsors for Ape Fest. Connect the dots, and Magic Eden will be launching an NFT marketplace by the end of 2023. They said December, and it will not cut out royalties for the project. Based on the verbiage they used, I would guess that it will not be Yuga exclusive, and other people will be able to launch their projects on Magic Eden. Maybe there'll be more vetting done. That's obviously to be determined. But yeah, given that Ape Fest is in Hong Kong, to have this sort of announcement at 7 a.m. East Coast time on a Saturday morning, definitely odd timing. But I think it's a death sentence for OpenSea. I don't see how OpenSea survives, even if they came out with a token that everyone is begging for the past few years. Once we all get our airdrop and convert it to ETH, then
it's out. Yeah,
it's out.
People go spend it.
So yeah,
well, okay,
exactly. So,
well, okay. Here's a question, and let me set this up. So the announcement, of course, just like you're saying here, Yuga Labs is partnering with Magic Eden to launch an Ethereum marketplace that enforces creator fees, that enforces royalties, which is something OpenSea just a few months back said they're no longer going to do. And when that happened, Yuga Labs specifically said, well, then we're not going to make our NFTs tradable on OpenSea. And that started with the Legend of the Mara NFTs. You can't trade them on OpenSea. Maybe, I don't know if you can do anything retroactively if you don't mint new tokens, right? And it's done at the contract level. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Um, I know a lot of projects that have already closed their doors and some that were also planning to close their doors later this year because they're not making any monies because those royalties are gone. This is a game
Exactly.
changer, but it is ultimately up to collectors and traders to put their money where their mouth is and start trading on the marketplaces that enforce those fees. I wonder if they will. Um, I think they will. I really do. When it comes to when you're faced with a choice of do I trade on Blur or do I trade on the Flooring Protocol or anywhere else that has or X2Y2, any of those platforms that don't enforce fees. So either do that and you maybe make a couple bucks here and there, like people are seeing now for the past few months, or you go trade on somewhere like Now Magic Eden that's enforcing those royalties, and hopefully that means projects survive and can keep releasing shit. Um, I wonder if
Yeah,
collectors will go there and trade. I hope they will.
I agree 100% because what's the incentive? Um, what's the incentive to trade anywhere else? Uh, because at the end of the day, well, sorry, trading for us is one thing, but launching a project for anyone else, there's no survivability outside of. Sorry, there's no survivability if 3 years from now you like if you launch something in 2021, we're about to hit 2024, and now they're telling you, oh, by the way, all of the small cut you were getting, um, we're taking it away. It's gone forever. Sorry. The survivability isn't realistic. So Eden stepping in with the biggest name in this space, um, it gives me a little hope. I think we'll see OpenSea and Blur and these other marketplaces are just going to turn into bot farming as Blur has been already, as we know. But it's just very difficult to imagine, like, if you're a creator and you're actually trying to build something, you're going to have to use Magic Eden. And if you're a trader who's only here for money, then you're going to stick to OpenSea and Blur. So I think we're going to see a divide of how many people are actually here who believe in the technology, who believe in the future of non-fungible tokens versus the people that are here just to make quick flips in any way, shape, or form that they can.
Yeah, so let me throw out not quite a counter argument, but I guess it's like just purely a question. So even though OpenSea says they don't enforce creator royalties anymore, when you mint on their platform, they've released these creator tools like the new creator dashboards or create collection pages, right? They released the new collector tools um, and the creator tools. When you mint through their site now, you can enforce royalties. Like, and I noticed
So
that.
their what's the word I should be looking for? Not procedure, but it has not activated yet. The 0% fees has not been activated by OpenSea yet.
I see.
So
So that
right,
goes live
yeah.
next
So
year. Okay.
yes,
I
yep.
was wondering.
So
So, like,
that's
I
why,
saw the particle, right? It's Animoca Back project, minted through OpenSea. They were one of their featured drops, and I'm like, hang on, I'm trying to sell this, and it's an enforced, 10% royalty plus the 2.5%.
mhm.
So I'm like, okay, hang on, I think they just suck at marketing. But
Yeah,
I
no,
kind of
it's
picture
it's
that'll
just not
happen
enforced yet.
anyways. But picture this: like if you mint through OpenSea, I gotta imagine they're giving you the option to make them um, like locked in, right? Enforceable. And they're probably going to block you from trading on other platforms, though.
Yeah, so that's actually something that was brought up when the announcement was made. Yuga, well, the people that were hosting the Bored Ape spaces on X, kind of said that the Bored Apes themselves and the Mutant Apes, their contracts, because they're so much older, they were, more of the originals. They're going to have an issue. They don't know what they're going to do when it comes to trading them because they'll still be able to be traded on OpenSea and these other websites versus, like you mentioned earlier, the vessels are only allowed to be traded on that one website now. It's not on Blur, it's not on OpenSea. So it seems like a lot of the assets that they already have will be Magic Eden only. But it also seems like a couple of their older collections, I don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to uh, move, create a new contract
Like
and
remint him, right?
have, yeah, and I
Well,
can't
dude,
imagine.
I'll
Oh, go
say
ahead, please.
this. I see no reason why they wouldn't. If they've already put like they've seeded this in people's mind that they're considering going to another blockchain, like they've talked about that when the other side mint or the other deed land minted, and there's been the proposal now to have have like an ape chain created over
Ape
on
chain.
Polygon. If you're doing that,
Yeah.
you either got a bridge or remint anyways. So I don't think people care. I really don't think people care at all if the NFT's reminted. My other deed has already been reminted when I did whatever that process is that you walked me through to like redeem it and claim my vessel. Well, I got a new other
Hmm.
deed land. People don't care at all, I don't believe.
Well, as long as you have to burn the original for the new one, because otherwise it's going to turn into a CryptoPunks V1
Yeah.
versus CryptoPunk situation where, well, which one holds more value, the original one on ETH or the new one on Ape Chain?
Oh man.
And I
By the
think,
way,
and that's
that
going to, yeah,
that we're going to get into because we're going to dive into Elon Musk's take on NFTs, right? And them not being on
which
chain, and then
wasn't
there's a
wrong.
conversation, right? Like we're going to talk about that. And the
Yeah.
V1 versus V2 punk is a really good example, like of
Yep.
who determines the value of it. Is it the token itself, or is it what the project and the community says is value? There again, it's like a little abstract, but it's a good example that we can run through to see if Elon Musk is wrong, if he's right, if he's somewhere in between.
Yeah. 100%. And you're going to have two types of people. You're going to have someone who, on one side, is going to want to be one of the first people to burn their original ETH ape and potentially mint it on Ape Chain if this happens. And then there's the other side of it where I'm never doing that. I'm never moving my ape to Ape Chain. This is where I minted him. This is where I'm keeping him. So I think it will cause more of a divide. I think people will have a really tough time letting go of that original asset from, we get way too connected to our NFTs, and I think that's one of the biggest problems.
I think in certain communities they would. I just like kind of like where I don't believe most ape holders are gamers. I don't think they'll care too much. There's a segment that do, but it also goes back to if Elon Musk is talking about being on chain matters the image, and we mostly see that it doesn't to people. I just don't think people care. They care about what has value, and they've proven that over and over again. Cats, by the way, I sent you a message here. It's saying device not connected. It's just your microphone, I think. But as soon as that's ready, I'll there you go. I see you now. All right. Good morning, Cats.
Hey, morning. Yeah, I just had it muted. I didn't know I needed to turn it on.
Who freaking knew? Hey, we're all learning. How you doing,
That
man?
I
You got
have
a spicy
takes.
take here, huh? Let's hear it.
Well, we talked about this last week before this even happened, like the death of OpenSea, just because we were talking about other projects making their own marketplaces, right? And I still think that's coming. I am surprised. I honestly thought Yuga would just create their own marketplace. I didn't see them pairing with Magic Eden to just create another marketplace for everybody. And I don't really know why they would do that unless they're getting some sort of cut from all the other, you know, fees for that site. But
Well, I
whatever.
wonder if it's that they're going to make ApeCoin, like a token that can be used to buy any NFT out there, which would be really, really cool, right?
Yeah, of
I
course.
think, yeah.
It's pretty
But
likely.
dude, I mean, this is already having this stuff is not hard. I mean, they're going to migrate the contract. Multiple projects have already done it. Valeria did it. I mean, and it's not. And when those old lands, when they migrated to the upgradable contract that can enforce royalties and could use their token and do all the stuff that now needs to be done, when they did that, I mean, of course, they had a big problem with OpenSea because they didn't migrate the volume, and all this stuff. But when they did that, all the updated or all the metadata from the old images on the old contract turned to this like ruined land. It says do not trade. And you can still find them in hidden wallets,
Right.
but like they can change it to where like it's not like there's two versions of that ape. Like they'll just ruin the old one, essentially burn it, and then have the new one on the upgraded contract.
Yeah, there's almost no downside to doing it other than like it just initially, right? It takes a little time to get everybody over. Oh, here's where you do have a problem, and I've seen this in some projects like City Roots, plenty of others who have reminted tokens, whether it's to go on another chain or to add some functionality, but they only support that migration for a limited time. And I'm going to throw out an arbitrary number, but let's say you get a year out from when that initially happens, and they're like, if you haven't migrated by then, too late. Look at something like what is it, the curio cards? You know, there's a certain point where if you don't migrate them off the site, they're gone. That can't happen. I think with NFTs, somehow it has to be supported forever. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but that's the only hurdle I see with someone like Yuga Labs making that move to the other side. To, I mean, yeah, no pun intended, but to like another chain or another NFT. It's if you leave some people behind and you screw them out of pretty valuable financial assets. I don't picture they do it again, but it's something I think they got to be careful of, right?
I mean, so I think creating your own chain is a ballsy move. A marketplace is one thing, but who was the project that just came to ETH after being on two different chains before? Was that the gods?
Yeah. Oh well,
You
Utes
know,
went to it was
Utes.
Utes.
Sorry,
Yep.
thank you. Yeah, this is the third chain Utes has been on, so we have a firsthand example of like, I guess people's inability to decide how they want to play this, what chain is going to be best, and I think building your own chain comes with way more risk than staying on ETH personally. And it's just I just feel like it's a problem waiting to happen. It's not something that like I'm not an ape owner. I'm not a mutant owner. I'm on the gaming side of Yuga strictly. Um, but it just seems like for newbies, for people unlike us that have been invested in this space for years now, I just think it's a whole like, oh no, now you have to go use Ape Chain and create a new
Yeah.
wallet and
It's
this that
complicated
it's
enough.
just a
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And now this is another step to complicate matters even more. It's
So like it's a UX issue. I mean, if they can make that better, then it doesn't matter. And I think we all
then
see the
yeah,
future where it's mostly all omni-chain anyways. It's move your asset here to work here, and if you want to go in this game or ecosystem, just bridge it here, and it's all just a click of a button. So maybe there's some value to being early to that, and on the flip side, maybe there's some value to waiting until those systems are built out. But so either way, I don't see the harm in going to your own chain, and I do believe most games will be on their own blockchain, like a layer two or even I don't know if they're called like if it would be like a layer three, but I know like Polygon lets you have your own chain under Polygon. So again, I don't know if that's considered layer three at that point, but that's the future I see honestly is all these games with their own chain, with their own currency, rather than being directly on a chain. Yuga Labs would be really a pioneer if they were one of the first to do that. Um, I mean, there are games who started on their own chain, basically, like the Mythic games, and trying to think what like Gala, the Gala games who are now on their own blockchain. But Yuga Labs would be if they do it right. If they do it first of all, and then they do it right, they could be the North Star, like they've been for the past 2.5 years in NFTs with almost everything. Crazy to say too, by the way. Man, some things I
I
just
know.
don't see early enough, and Yuga Labs is one of them. I just never saw it being what it is now. But credit where credit's due with like literally everything they've done, everything. They're so
And
impressive here.
the flip side of having your own chain um, is what Artifact and Nike did with Fortnite and Epic Games. I'm not sure if you guys took part in that, but
Yeah.
basically, I was able to go to the Nike, not the Nike website, but their Web3 website, and I was able to buy a pair of sneakers for $19 and like 83 cents or something like that. And buying those sneakers gave me rewards in game in Fortnite that I play on my PlayStation 5. And then when I did certain things in the game in Fortnite on my PlayStation 5, my Nike account was rewarded certain achievements that will give my account like an OG kind of badge, like, oh, you were one of the first people here. So in that instance, we're seeing NFTs be integrated into PlayStation, Xbox, PC without people even realizing that it's going on. And they're doing that through what you said before, Huda. Like, you connect your Epic Stores account to, sorry, you connect your Epic Games profile to the Nike website. And now everything that you've earned on that Nike Web3 NFT, everything you've bought there is now going to be available to you in the Epic Games store, aka Fortnite. So we're seeing Web3 integration with NFTs right in front of us with Fortnite. And it's been months since this happened, but that to me is the best chance of, like, it's mass adoption without people even realizing it's mass adoption. People went, oh, look,
Yep.
I can do the, there's a Nike world that I can go play in Fortnite. Let me go spend a half an hour in there. And believe it or not, they were getting Web3 achievements without even realizing they
It's
were playing a Web3 game.
total Trojan
guess.
horse. Totally. Like,
Yes,
it's so cool
yes,
seeing
yes.
it happen slowly in front of us and people not even realizing it's
And
happening.
blindly, yep.
That's it. Now, I also changed my mind just this week about gaming being that Trojan horse, that thing that's going to funnel people from real world to Web3 to NFTs. And I changed my mind that it's going to be fantasy sports instead, which is it's an obvious thing, but I just kind of have decided that's the thing. Gaming is just as likely to be as big, but I think what's going to drive people here quicker, I think it's fantasy sports. Let's do a quick market review and then start getting into that kind of thing, because those are more market focused. And Rajan had some questions here. Oh, good. Henry's here. Henry, if you want to come up, let me know. I'll send you a link. But
Woo.
yeah, right. Ooh, hang on. Hang on. This is for Henry. Oh, hang on. There we go. Hey, Andrew, what's up, man? Okay. I hope this isn't too loud. If anybody listening says it is, I'll lower it a bit. But I'm going to have this roll while I do a little market review. Henry, yeah, link incoming here. God, I love this song. All right, whenever we put on this song, guys, we play a game. Okay, when we put this on, we play You Groove, You Lose. If you don't know what that means, you got to try to not dance. You got to try to not move. If you move, you lose, right? You groove, you lose. Let's see who can last the longest. Henry's favorite game here, too. All right, so let's start here with the Forecast 500 NFT Index. This measures the value of NFTs across blockchains, and I do want to mention the chains it covers because it's pretty expansive here, right? Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, Cardano, BNB. I'm not going to go down the whole list, but something like 10, 11, 12 blockchains here. And the top 500 collections across them, that's what it's measuring. Picture it like the S&P 500 of NFTs. Pretty cool, up 1.42%, which is pretty damn massive. Even in the past couple weeks here where we've been looking strong, it's not been up around this much. We haven't seen a 1.5% gain in a day, and we do today. Things are really turning around. Things are really starting to cook. The past 7 days up 1.35%, which is also incredible. I like to peek at just how the month itself is going, because we've not had a month in the positive other than January. Not even October, as good as it was positive. We were down over 4%. So far for November, we're up 2.25%. All right, so just keep that in mind always as you're looking at the index and trying to gauge the market. Other than usually January, and this goes back the last few years, we don't ever increase. So if we maintain this for the year, that means we found a different kind of floor, a different kind of bottom that we've recovered from, something we've never seen in NFTs. Watch this. Henry, you got a link in Discord, by the way. All right, global NFT sales. This is actually pretty damn spicy too. 20.1 million yesterday. The first time we've crossed 20 million in sales on a day since January. No, I'm sorry, July. July 17th, I believe. So over 3 months, we've not crossed 20 million. We hit it yesterday. Unique sellers up slightly. Unique buyers down. Total transactions down. Average sales price, I keep hammering away at this. 95, that's the highest we've been in a long while, too. That's probably going back months. And that's reflecting what we've been seeing in the market. Really expensive NFTs are starting to trade hands again. Sellers selling them while they know there's buyers out there. But the buyers that are buying them, I think, are true collectors, right? They're buying up apes. They think they're too cheap now. They don't think they will be much longer. So they're buying the apes. They're buying the D-Gods. They're buying the Azukis even, right? So those Grail collections, those are what are moving, and we're seeing that reflected in the average sales price here. It's great to see. I don't point this out often enough, but I should. It's the trade profits. Sellers are still down, so a lot of these, even though they're being traded, they're finding new buyers, they're finding new collectors. Those sellers are largely taking losses still, right? Trade profits are down almost 2 million yesterday, so sellers on the losing end of trades still. We need to see that turn around to know we're in a different kind of market, one that would probably help drive a platform that has new royalties baked in. It's something to keep your eye on here for sure. Quick peek over at SoFi, because there is a correlation with these SoFi platforms like Friend Tech and Stars Arena with the recovery we're seeing in NFTs. Well, yesterday, Friend Tech actually bounced a little bit over 1 million. It's been struggling to cross 1 million in sales volume over the past week here, but yesterday did cross 1 million. And all of the SoFi platforms yesterday were actually up. This is total value locked, but it just tells you that people are investing in those platforms now when you see them green. Stars Arena having the biggest recovery here because, well, simply, they were the lowest. They were at rock bottom after the controversy over there, the CEO leaving the team, others on the team getting the boot. And I think it's all new team members at this point, and they're building from the ground up. The price or the total value locked is reflecting that. Yeah, Rajan, yeah. Liquidity from Wall Street's coming into Bitcoin. And then from there, you're exactly right. It flows to crypto. It flows to NFTs. Absolutely. Henry, welcome.
Hey, can you hear
Good
me?
morning, sir. Yeah, I got you.
GMs. Yeah, GM, man.
GM.
How are things?
Let me see. Good. I want to see if I need to hit anything else on the market front real quick here. Well, you know what? I'm going to hit on the top 10. Let's just cover that, and we can get right into some chit-chat about the market. And Rajan had a question, too, about what's the smartest thing to invest in, right? Like investing in alts, investing in crypto, investing in NFTs. I have some thoughts on that. I know you guys are all really good at this stuff, too, and so I want to hear what you guys have to think. Top 10 collections, though, the Captains still at number 1. That's 2 days in a row after the meme coin drop. A lot of those being sold because people claim they're meme. They're dumping their Captain because they were only in it for the meme coin anyways. But Sats BRC 20s at number 2. That's followed by the Bored Ape Yacht Club, Gods Unchained, D-Market, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, You the Real MVP, which is from Memeland 2, Sorare, DraftKings, Potatoes at number 10, also from Memeland. So Memeland has 3 collections in the top 10 today. And if you're not familiar with You the Real MVP, that's kind of like a, I don't want to call it a mint pass, but it's like a reward type of NFT. If you have that, you get a whitelist to all of their future mints. In fact, I think it reserves you 2 free mints on any drops they have. So it's kind of a like a top tier of that project, I guess. There's your market review, guys. So let's get into the market. I guess why don't we address that question from Rajan as far as here's what he says. What keeps him up is whether to invest in NFTs, which he treats as a call on ETH. That's interesting. Or invest in alts. My thought, it's invest in ETH. It's invest in ETH, the thing that's touching almost all of these NFT projects. In a bull run, invest in whatever, right? Get your whitelist, get into a project and flip it. I think that's the way to play it. Play the whitelist game, play the quick flips, but the number one goal or objective should be stacking ETH. Always taking gains, sticking ETH in another wallet that you never touch. And I think that's the safest model. What do you guys think? What are you investing in now? Or as we recover over the next few months and potentially have a nice run, what's your goal? What's your objective? And how are you playing it? I'll serve that up to you.
I kind of go with alts right now. I mean, I don't think ETH is a bad play at all, but DeFi is coming to Solana. I look at Solana hit like 40 something the other day. From they were at 18 to 20 not terribly long ago. Solana, Ron, Matic, Link. Those are on my list of bags I need to secure.
Man,
do you know what my biggest bag is?
On Ron right
Oh, incredibly. Yeah. I think Ron is. I don't even want to say it's slept on. I think it's maybe around 45 to 50 cents.
Yeah,
I think
55
there's
right now, man.
a
Jeez.
ton of potential. I know there's some unlocking that's going to be happening here.
Yeah,
It's
55.
quite
Yeah, it's
stable. So
looking strong.
wow, yeah, it was down near 45 not long ago. Yeah, I think I like also I like ETH. Make no mistake, but I just think there's some. If you're playing the trading game, I think there's some gains to be had. I think altcoin season is coming soon.
Gimme the
Very
Loot
soon.
says watching for mints and flips, doing some airdrop farming. That's actually pretty damn smart here too. Especially, I think a lot of airdrops come usually start of the year, very early, and that usually powers that bull run. Which I'm going to mention in just a moment here. The perfect storm that's brewing for December, January. I'm like, man, I am incredibly bullish right now. Yeah, but Gimme the Loot, good strategy there. He's not touching alts yet. Moisty, what about you?
So right now, when it comes to NFTs, I'm strictly stacking gaming assets. I think I don't think quick flips are possible in the NFT market at the moment. I don't think they will be possible in for quite some time, to be honest, until this magical bull run, if it does ever come back, until that reappears. Until then, I agree with Henry. I think altcoins and personally, even shitcoins uh, are the way to play the market right now. I know we've seen Dork do 225% uptick over the past 24 hours. You know, getting in low on something like that and getting out when you think you've gotten enough profit. I think those are the quick flips we're looking for. Are neck deep in the shitcoin universe. I also agree with what someone in the chat said regarding Bitcoin. Um, a lot of the liquidity is coming from that, and it is going to seed down into all these other smaller coins, these NFTs. Yeah, I'm right when it comes to NFTs right now. I'm strictly in the gaming. I'm neck deep in it, and that's where I converted every NFT asset I had into gaming assets because that's my personal belief is that, and I know a lot of people here, I mean, if you look at the people that are in this chat right now or on the stage, we have Katz, who is a Valeria whale. We have Henry, who is the community manager for CyberKongs. And then, I'm neck deep in Yuga. So personally, and I've said this before in our Discord, uh, those are literally the three gaming projects that I think is safe to say that we are most bullish on. And I think it's funny that there's a representative from one of each of them on stage right now. I don't know if right now is the right time to buy. Uh, I can't, we can't predict if they're going to go up or down continuously. But uh, when it comes to NFTs, I think gaming is the way of the future, personally.
Gravity, you nailed it there. He said Wallet Wars is the next Grapes. Totally agree. Another Animoca backed project. I got to talk to those guys leading up to their mint. Really strong team, like really strong team. Um, Tiny supply. What is it, Gravity? Like 600 or so of those. I can't. It is an NFT, but it basically represents. Does it give you access to the wallet? Um, and man, I lost how it works even entirely. It's a really simple little mini game, but it's a utility token that again I think it lets you use the wallet for now. But again, anything Animoca backed right now, I think is a smart play because they're all getting ready to drop coins. Grape, that Grape project. I don't know if their coin is out yet, but that's something that's fueling what's going on over there. Even Particle Inc., which I'm a little less bullish on now, they've got a token coming. It seems like every Animoca touching project has a coin coming. But yeah, Wallet Wars, if you're not familiar, is definitely something to at least be peeking at. I was shocked honestly that they even minted out. Maybe it's Wallet Warlocks. Just the timing of their mint, I thought was a little tricky for them, and but it's cheap enough, and yeah, I think it worked.
just wanted to throw a comment on the shit coining because I agree with you, Moisty. A lot of guys making good money in shit coins. There's a decent tool out there, Boggs, the Bogart. He's got a project called Consortium Key, and it's basically a bot that gives you mobile alerts, Discord alerts. You can buy shit coins directly through Discord. They degen hard in shit coins. That's a decent tool to look at because the hard part with shit coins is you almost have to be on like the 1 minute chart when you're doing those things because it's like it's like a whole different type of degenning. It's like hyper focused, high speed. But
you walk away for 5 minutes, go to the bathroom, and everything could be gone. Yep.
Yeah.
Moisty, is this it? What I have on screen here?
Regarding what?
I'm sorry. I meant gravity. I'm looking for wallet wars.
Sorry.
No, all good. I said that wrong. Oh, that is. Oh, dude, it was 55. It was 5,500. I thought it was like 600 editions in the collection. Okay, so interesting. Wow. Okay, I'm even more surprised at how well it's doing with a collection of that size. I didn't think people would get it when they explained the utility of it. I'm like, yeah, I think it's cool, but I don't think you're going to find people in this market where nobody was minting. I didn't think you'd find 5,000 plus people to mint it, but way wrong there. Holy cow. Yeah, worth looking at, guys, just as a side note. Okay, Moisty, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off with all of that.
No, it was Henry. Henry was speaking.
No, I think it wrapped it up. We were just talking shit coins. There's profits to be had. Just was saying you got to be like hyper focused, really paying attention. And it's really helpful to have some tools to help you in that.
So then,
in that journey.
Let me mention then some indicators that it might be time to start looking at NFTs again, right? Because I think that's what we're all waiting for is some signals here. Those signals, going back to the index, it's seeing those top 500 collections, like those blue chips, going up in value, right? I think that's baseline. I think that's like one of the fundamental things you have to see. When those collections are still losing value, I don't think it's time to be buying NFTs at all. But when they're gaining, I think that's showing the strength and a level of support for the broader NFT ecosystem. So again, just an indicator, but you combine that with big individual NFT sales, which we started to see a lot of in the past week or so here. The number one ranked DeGods, that's a rarity rank, sold for almost $200,000. So pretty big sale, again, showing some confidence in the market. On one hand, that could be someone who's got a ton of disposable income and they can just buy something because they want the flex, and it doesn't matter the price, right? Like the value or price means nothing to them. But when you start seeing tons of these, right? Like a Bored Ape that sold for $300,000, we saw a CryptoPunk that has a $2 million bid on it, which I actually want to check in on that. That's when you got to start realizing that something has changed in the market. Like a fundamental turnaround has happened here. The value of NFTs going up, big NFT sales happening. Again, that happens when people think that the NFTs are too cheap and that NFT is not going to be around for much longer. It's just something to be thinking through when you're starting to wonder, okay, is it time to start looking for NFTs to mint? And when you start seeing NFT collections mint out, which again, in the past couple of weeks we'd gone months of seeing NFT collections have their public sale, fail to sell out, and then people backed off all of them. Well, now we're seeing collections mint out almost one after another, not at the volume we would see in a bull market, right? It's not multiple mints a day that are minting out in instant flips. We're not seeing that yet, but we are seeing multiple times a week a collection here and there mint out, be profitable. So something did change. It is time to be looking at NFT collections and seeing if it's time to start buying those mints. Another really, really big sale. Actually, this is kind of cool, and this is kind of brings me to the conversation about what's going to bring people to NFTs. All right, we had this Victor Wembanyama sale, a 1-1 NFT over on Sorare. This is fantasy basketball. Something that I still don't remember, guys, if NBA Top Shot has started yet. Like, they should have done it from the get-go. I don't know if they've started doing it now, and I'm sure they have plans to do it if they don't. Moisty and Katz, you guys are both in NBA Top Shots. Are they doing it yet?
No, they are not.
That's a sore subject.
Yeah, Katz is our resident NBA Top Shot expert. I'll leave this to him.
Do they have plans to?
Dude, no. The thing is that with Top Shot, like there was games built around Top Shot from other people, but not them. And they had the hard court thing always in the plans. And from anything I can see, that's totally scrapped.
It's totally
They
scrapped,
missed
yeah.
the boat so big on this.
I should have. Okay, so I told you guys about the interview I did on Crypto Slam Clubhouse, which was incredible. I had Sorare on there. I had Luke from Dapper Labs. A whole bunch of people from the gaming NFT industry. I didn't ask him that because I felt like it would be rude to put him on the spot there and ask about fantasy sports, but I should have, right? I would love to know if they're going to be baking that in, because to me, that's the future of sports collectibles. It's the fantasy sports. Actually, maybe a quick Google search. I want to see the size of the fantasy sports industry here. How would I search that? Let's see.
I think they may be. I personally think Top Shot. Well, first of all, let's get this out of the way. Fantasy basketball is not even. I mean, fantasy basketball is not that big. Like, obviously, fantasy football is far and away the number one fantasy sport in the country, probably the world. Number two, if I had to guess, would be fantasy baseball. So
No, it's soccer.
Yes, soccer.
Like soccer's probably bigger than football.
Okay, so that's even proving my point even more. That means fantasy basketball is number 4. You know, I would even put fantasy baseball in front of fantasy basketball personally. I love fantasy. I play every fantasy you could imagine, and I find it difficult to believe in a fantasy basketball product personally.
Even on Sorare?
Sorare is at least doing it in a sense of like NBA Top Shot. If I want to create the best lineup, I can go buy a Joel Embiid and Luka Doncic and LeBron James for a total of like $10. And guess what? Everybody else can too. So it's just going to be far too similar of lineups. People are going to have repeat players. It's even, I would even put DraftKings ahead of what Top Shot could potentially do fantasy wise, because at least there's a statistical number, like there's a cap, and you have to put your best players in a lineup and stay under the cap. Versus Top Shot, it's kind of just, if I had to guess, own the moment, stick them in the lineup, and guess what? All of us are going to have Luka Doncic. All of us are going to have Joel Embiid. All of us are going to have Giannis, because they're so cheap that why wouldn't we? Now versus
No, they'd
so
have to
rare,
score them. Like,
they
it
would
wouldn't
have
work
to,
that way.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
You
Like, it
would
couldn't
have
work that
to.
way.
Yeah. But so rare, like that Victor card that just sold, that's a
Unique
1-of-1, buddy.
Yep,
So
that's it.
one person gets him. That's it. So that's why you're going to see the price. That's why we saw that price so drastically different, because it's exclusive to one person, not a 60,000 limited edition, Kemba Walker that we can just stroll up and buy for $1. Yeah, it's interesting. I think NFL all day has a better chance just because of football's popularity versus the NBA. But like Henry just mentioned, there has to be some sort of cap. It can't just be put these players in, and cross your fingers and hope for the best. There has to be something that will just,
right?
yes, it's something that distinguishes my team from your team.
Is it just the
outside of-
1/1s though? Is it just the rarity, or can they do something as easy as like throw in like modifier cards? Gamify it just a little bit more. And by the way, it looks like the fantasy sports industry is like tens of billions a year. I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
man, there's a lot of this stuff I'm new to like learning about and researching and wrapping my head around the numbers. That's freaking massive, and that's why I think that fantasy
a lot of
sports
that.
it was such a great chance at driving that mass adoption. Let me show you a quick example though here. Like,
Let's see, a lot of that number is probably from DFS. DFS is massive.
yes, yeah,
Also, it's probably not
That's
even
what Top
capturing
Shot should have done.
the private pools. We're on our second season of fantasy football in Kongs. We use ESPN Fantasy, but everything's paid everything's done like off of their platform as far as the money goes. So there's
And
all kinds of money not even being captured out there.
Yeah, and don't you think that the most attractive thing for people will be the potential for even bigger gains? Like it seems like an automatic thing. Like having a carrot at the end of the stick that's worth like a $1 million carrot. And it's something like DraftKings are doing, and it's something like Sorare's doing, and the NBA's got this $100,000 cash prize. I think people are going to come pouring into this stuff. This guy, by the way, I like to follow him because he shows real world collectibles, not usually NFT stuff. So Collectible Guru had tweeted out that Victor Wembanyama sale, and somebody's asking if it's legit, right? Because it's such a big sale. And then his reply here is he personally knows the person who bought it, Big Whale, who's making a lot of money in Sorare already. But here was my favorite part of that whole exchange. I hope I can find it here. Oh, here we go. Like, always the best, right? Someone who said he took a screenshot now thinks he owns the NFT, right? He just, did I commit grand larceny? This is going to make this stuff make a lot of sense to people. A guy like this who's probably interested in fantasy sports now going to have to wrap his head around it because it's so in his face. The big money is so in his face, right? And to me, it's an easy way to understand it too. Like we could try to explain the Bored Ape Yacht Club thing. Like, hey, your right-click save of the Bored Ape is not getting you that $100,000 airdrop in this or that. To him, those rewards are still fake money. It's still crypto stuff to him that was already worthless anyways. But he understands fantasy sports. He understands, like you're saying, Henry, like you hang out with your buddies and you've got your cash pool. He understands making money on fantasy sports more than he does making money on NFTs. So if this guy stays kind of attached to this just to think through, like, what the fuck are these guys doing that I don't get? This is how people will get hooked. I really believe that. I think fantasy sports is that Trojan horse that people are going to come play to buy a $10 pack of fantasy cards, enter a weekly competition, probably win something. But even if they don't, to then see they can take those cards and flip them on a secondary market and make something out of it. Maybe they make all their money back they spent. Yeah, please.
Can I counter that? Okay, so as much as I want to believe everything you're saying, and as much as I want that everything you just said to happen, I don't see it happening just because in the sense that it already exists with, like Kat said, daily fantasy, and you can just use fiat. So I can roll in to 100,000. There's 100,000 people playing a weekly NFL fantasy game. It's a $5 entry. Winner takes home $50,000. I create my lineup, and all it cost me was $5. So if I have that opportunity, and it's that easy just to, put my debit card information in, spend $5, create my team, create my lineup, set it and forget it, and I'm good for the week. Why, as an outsider, if I'm doing that every day, why would I want to come in to buy packs and create a lineup and own these cards and then have to worry about buying and selling on secondary? It's just people want ease. People want things to be easy, and
a lot
DFS is perfection in a sense of fantasy. They have that shit on lock. That's why every day when you come out with your stats, we see them at top of the charts. Every single day, it's always DraftKings, always top 5, always millions and millions of dollars going into it. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I just don't know why a normal non-Web3 person who is successful in daily fantasy would say, you know what? I'm going to go, instead of spending my $5 to play a tournament, let me go put 10 times more into it, and then have to worry about, like I said, buying, selling, trading, etc. I just think they want ease.
I agree with that, but I also think it allows for something that you maybe can't do on these other platforms, which is the part you're saying you don't think they want to do, but it is the scouting part. It is the ability to find someone who you think, and you do this in fantasy sports anyways, like who is undervalued right now, maybe a player that's injured that's not coming back for like a week or two or a month or whatever, but when he comes back, he's going to put up some serious points. So you can do that here. You buy their card, and I think the upside of it is different than it is in just a typical fantasy league, especially if you own it for the next many years, and you own it as something that can be traded on decentralized platforms. The opportunity to get a card like this for $100,000 that most normal people aren't going to be able to do, but now this is yours for life, and in theory could gain a lot of value. If this is a guy that's driving you to win $100,000 prize pools on a yearly basis, it just opens up a different avenue for profits, and potentially very, very large profits that I don't know if that exists in the traditional fantasy markets yet. I'm not sure if it does. Maybe it does, and I don't know because I don't play them. But I don't think that exists over there yet. And when I was talking to the from Juan from Sorare, that was his bigger point with this stuff too, where it's less about betting and it's the scouting that is really driving people to it. The fact that you can go scour marketplaces for undervalued players and go flip their cards and make pretty good money in an industry, here on the NFT side that's only going to grow most likely. I think that adds a little something extra spicy to the fantasy stuff that I think will be attractive to players, especially people who don't have money to really play those things in a way where they would make a lot of money. Going back to like my old Avastar story where I used to just scroll through pages and pages looking for NFTs there that I knew people would want. And I made money on that. And it wasn't little money. It was hundreds of dollars, right? And probably totaled over 1,000 or 2,000. I think you give that opportunity to people who know sports, don't have the capital to be able to play it and play with these big guys, but give them the opportunity to make hundreds or thousands of dollars just doing that, just by playing smarter than other people and flipping cards. Pretty damn attractive, I think.
There's also going to be a large number of people doing that, though, fighting over is like a low number count. Like I said, I want it to be true. I do.
Moisty. I'm kind of with you that it's hard to wrap my head around because there's so many idiot.
Oh, Henry hitting his dead spot maybe on his morning commute here.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I'll step in. Unfortunately, I tend to agree with Moisey. Just being in fantasy sports a lot too, people like easy, man. Like, DFS is so freaking easy. And honestly, okay, even with that, and maybe I'm just biased, but I still think the gaming thing, fantasy sports are going to be played by adults and typically more male dominated, right? Whereas if we get mobile gaming, all the kids play. All these kids are on. Who do you got? Kids that have cell phones. I'm sure they play games. Like, even my daughter's 9-year-old friends have phones already. I'm like, this is crazy. But like, there's just so much more potential if mobile gaming really takes off that you don't know is NFTs, right? Like, it has to be hidden, so to say. But it's just the population size is just so much bigger for gaming than it is for fantasy sports. And like you said, there's already a huge platform for very easy. I don't have to like worry about the randomness of a pack or whatever, or look through a secondary. I can just set whoever I want. I just have a budget, I don't know. I feel like that's more restrictive. As far as the huge mass adoption, I still think it's a player. I think it will happen. I think it will bring more people to the space, but I don't know that it's the huge Trojan horse.
Yep. Good point.
Can you hear me now?
Honestly. Yeah, I got you now, Henry.
Is it okay to make a comment? Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, dude, please.
Yeah. It's hard to picture the mechanics exactly of NFTs in like fantasy football, as an example, just with things like waivers and the fact that like you're restricted by your cap per week of who you can put in. It's hard to picture. It also seems like the value of the cards would be restricted by the pool of money that you could ultimately win. If you're somebody playing for, let's say, 10 or 15 bucks, whether it's daily or you're in a pool for a potential $500 prize pool amongst 6 to 12 people, you're not going to go out and pay, $100K for a rare card. So if that existed, I would assume it would be in something like a legacy league, and in much higher stake games. But I do think there's a side to fantasy that you can't do in real life, which is there's got to be like a DeFi farming aspect of it that just doesn't exist, where whether you're winning or losing, because oftentimes there's more losers than winners, you still have the ability to be farming a token from, let's say, DraftKings or something like that.
Could we say in a way then that the scouting of players and just buying, selling, trading those on secondary markets so people can build their kind of elite teams, is that the version of DeFi in the fantasy sports world?
The hard part for me to picture with that scenario, like the scouting, is like, so like you could scout players, but you're always restricted to a certain degree by your cap. There's another part of fantasy, which is like the draft itself. Like if you're talking like a seasonal league, the draft is something like people like to take part in. Now, if that draft was done where it's like, you're buying the players versus you're just getting them, I guess there's an aspect to that. But what if you're playing, and whether, like, let's say in the DFS, what if you're playing and regardless of if you're winning or losing, there's some kind of aspect to it that by playing more, because the platform's making money every time you're playing, by playing more, you're farming a token in the background, or through staking certain cards and taking them off the market. You're earning a token from them. That's an aspect of it that I could see that you obviously can't do during, with anybody else's DFS, where maybe buying some of those cards, those rarer cards, staking them, now they're out of the league for whatever weeks, a season, you're yielding a token off of that. I could see there being something to it, even though I'm not the tokenomics.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. That's really interesting. Again, just gamifying the experience even more. I love that. I think that's fascinating.
You and I talked this week. It's everything is, I don't know, man. You and I have talked about this, and you've taught me, I would say, most everything I know on the gaming side of things. But when you reach that, like those different levels we used to talk about when we were getting into like NFTs, you reach that level of knowledge of like, oh, I got to this point and now I fully understand this. I remember trying to understand liquidity pools. I think we all do. Like the first time, like you heard somebody say liquidity pool and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? And then like it clicks for you.
The best part is when you think you know it and you start going through exercises, explaining to someone else, you're like, God damn it, I'm just like,
I don't know it.
Terms. I don't get it at all.
Yep. And so then there becomes a point where like you know it and you're like, oh my gosh, I get that. I wish I understood that better 6 months ago. So that was going to be, there's this aspect to gaming that clicked for me within the last like couple weeks. And it was really after conversations with Pixels, where I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's way more, it's way simpler than I thought. People just have to have, and people say this all the time, like games got to be fun. Well, yeah, the game's got to be fun, but the mechanics behind it don't have to be difficult. And I think the same goes for fantasy. Like it doesn't have to be this completely novel idea. Fantasy already exists. DeFi farming already exists. You put the two of them together and you give people a reason where they're rewarded almost no matter what. And I think you start to drive more market share towards your product. I think it can be that simple.
Guys, quick idea, because I don't play fantasy sports at all anymore, but I think it'd be cool as hell if we put a little money into building teams and played this. And on Saturdays, like maybe this morning show is a fantasy sports like roundtable, like catch up on how we performed and what moves dude, nobody's doing that out there really. I'm sure it's out there, right? But that'd be spicy. But as I'm looking through this, I just went through like the NBA market. And I agree with everything you guys are saying, honestly, kind of in a way. I'll probably temper my expectations for like the mass adoption thing. I still think it's going to be bigger than I initially thought for people to understand digital ownership. Maybe that's ultimately my point is I think fantasy sports is going to really help people understand owning something in the digital space in a decentralized way. Okay, so I'll leave that part there. But I also do think in NFTs, we're used to things being worth way more than they'd be worth in the real world, right? And when you play fantasy sports in the real world with your buddies, you're usually playing for like $100 cash prize at the end of the fantasy, at the end of like week 16 of football, right? Or maybe 500, maybe 1,000. And some bigger leagues, there's some serious money. But again, NFTs are so much pricier. I still have a feeling that being able to grind out maybe hundreds of dollars a week just by flipping players, just by staying ahead of the rest of the guys, and if you're knowledgeable in sports, I know you can do it. I do think there's going to be a lot of action there. Yeah, fantasy sports going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy. It's no different than anything else. Like you could, if you could, yeah, it's no different than any other card game that you could play in real life that you could also play in like Web3. I don't think you're crazy. I'd love to understand the mechanics a little bit better. If it's just DFS, if it's season long, if it's legacy style leagues, but I don't think you're crazy, and I think you're right. People just have to be realistic about their expectations.
Yep. All right, so I want to
Wait,
move
before-
on to.
But
Go ahead, Katz. You got a point here.
Sorry. One question before we move on. Pretend I'm not in Web3 and I'm a daily fantasy sports player. Show me right now on why I should join So Rare and what is the benefits of it for me as a successful daily fantasy gambler.
I think it's maybe, and I can't say because I don't play these other ones, but I think it's maybe the prize pools. I don't know if they're more or less than you get on other platforms, but I just think it's the combination of that. But the
So
truly owning
you
your
just
team.
you just hit exactly what I wanted you to. The daily prize pools. How are these Web3 NFT projects going to compete with the DraftKings daily prize pools? Man, you can go to DraftKings right now and go to their daily NFL weekly lineups, and there are certain prize pools where you bet $100 and the first place prize is $1 million. You
Yeah.
could bet $1 and the first place prize is 10,000. So
Well,
where are
I'll
we
tell you
getting
here's
the
why.
liquidity to do this on a weekly basis?
Well, because it's the very same places that are already doing that are also doing the NFT side. And I just think slowly, like we think most systems are going to transition to being blockchain on the back end. I think slowly over time, that's just going to happen. I think people are going to keep playing their fantasy sports the way they are, and slowly it turns into NFT backed stuff without them really realizing it. Maybe they opt in, and then all of a sudden they get an email that says, "By the way, your team this week that you set, this week you actually own them, and you'll keep those going forward." Just like you crack open a free pack, they can do that at any point by just, "Hey, the team you got now, we just tokenized them. Go explore this ecosystem," and then they realize they've been doing that in a way all along without owning those set players that they already had, right?
No, I like that idea and I understand that, but where is the weekly prize pool money coming from? Where is all of this prize money that we're giving out? On NBA would be a daily basis, MLB would be a daily basis,
Where does it come from
NFL
right
would
now?
be with daily fantasy, you have 10,000 people all putting in $100 into one particular pool. The liquidity is literally right there. Every single time they go to play, they're putting $100 in and they're gambling $100. And then
So what's the difference
90%.
Well, what's the difference if they do that or their entry is buying the pack to then play?
I just think it's an uphill battle to convince them to go buy the pack to then play when they have the ability to just do it with ease on the daily fantasy. That's all. I just think it's a big uphill
Moisty,
battle, personally.
The other difference is you're not randomly, let's say in the like with the DFS or a weekly, you're not randomly cracking a pack for it. You're selecting the players you want just to stay under a cap, and everybody has access to those players, which is what keeps everything equal. Your strategy is you have to form your team under the cap, right? That's the hard part in my mind. I'm like, I could picture it for a seasonal league, but then everything resets again. So do you play any legacy leagues?
Legacy meaning?
Legacy, I'm not in any, but I think legacy is where like you draft the player and like you're keeping that player multiple seasons.
He's talking about dynasty leagues.
Yeah, I'm actually the commissioner. I'm actually the commissioner of a dynasty league. Yes.
Could you see it applying to that?
The problem that we run into in dynasty leagues is say the four of us right now are in a league and say Huda's team is really, really good and Cat's team ends up being really, really bad. And Cat's players all get injured or he makes some moves that end up being not favorable for him. At the end of the league, he's like, fuck this. I don't want to play with this team next year. And he just leaves. Now you're in a position where, okay, you're a person short. And now you have to go find someone to come in and take his spot, which is hard enough in a USD situation with a bad team. Now you're asking someone to come in, pay X amount of money for the season, and then, oh, by the way, here is your completely shitty team that you get to fucking take over, have fun finishing in 10th place. So it's difficult to do in regular fantasy. Forget about adding the Web3 aspect to it. That is just a whole other Pandora's box you'd be opening up. And sorry, we can move on. I just wanted to. I hate being devil's advocate for this because fantasy is my favorite.
No, that's
but
exactly what we need.
I just have to talk the flip side of it.
That's beautiful. There has to be a flip side. There is one. So even me just spouting off like my thoughts and opinions, like I said even earlier, I never saw this run that we're in coming. I'm not right. You know what I mean? Like every so often, but you need those other perspectives. It's very easy to get caught up in a way of thought and completely miss maybe a bigger point. By the way, so Give Me the Loot. Let me mute this real quick. Give Me the Loot mentions something called Ultimate. Is it Ultimate Team? I don't know if this is like the FIFA soccer game like we're used to playing like on consoles and stuff. It looks like it is, but there's some element of collecting cards and assembling
so
teams
Ultimate Team is awesome. They have it in obviously FIFA, and they also have it in Madden, and basically it's in-game gambling. You'll pay X amount of money to rip a card. I mean, to rip a pack, just like Top Shot. And in that pack, you will have players that you can play on your team online versus other people. So we're on FIFA right now. You rip a pack and you get Lionel Messi, 98 Argentina. Now, when you go online to play, you have Lionel Messi. You have one of the rarest cards in the game.
Can they trade those in a marketplace?
No, you cannot. Well, sorry, you can, but it's with in-game currency, and you cannot change that in-game currency into fiat. So I could sell Lionel Messi for 100,000 FIFA tokens, and then when it sells, someone else, I'll get those 100,000 FIFA tokens, but I can't say, okay, now I want to turn this into USD. I can only use those tokens in game. So, and there's also, I'm not the only person that has Lionel Messi. There will be, thousands of other people that rip that card, but they're tradable, but they're not tradable for USD. They're only tradable for in-game currency. And that in-game currency you cannot turn into, real life money.
Very interesting, man.
That's cool.
This stuff's really, it's really all just going to merge.
And he made a good point. And Give Me the Loot made a great point. His last sentence, he says, a new game comes out every year, and the in-game currency from the year before is worthless. It's a great point, bro. Thank you so much for making that.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Well, a lot to keep our eyes on then in the world of fantasy sports, and then gaming. I guess it's there's a lot of crossover there, I guess, ultimately. Good conversation though, like really. Let's talk about, well, okay, two things I want to hit on. One is Ape Fest, and the other is that Perfect Storm. And we got the Joe Rogan, Elon Musk thing. Why don't we do the Perfect Storm first? Because I think that's maybe the most exciting thing. Now I'm in tab hell. But anyway, market's looking good, right? We have airdrop season coming. Okay, we've got the meme coin, which has just dumped a whole bunch of liquidity potentially into the market. And when that happens, people buy NFTs. That's exactly what we're seeing today. We have the Friendtech airdrop coming beginning of next year, I think. I don't know if we have a ton of details on that yet, right? But safe to say there's going to be a pretty decent sized Friendtech airdrop. We're going to have the Blur Season 2 airdrop at some point too. I was thinking that Blur token was going to be pretty worthless, but I don't know if you guys saw the pump it had maybe like 2 weeks ago. Did you guys see that? I'm going to pull up a chart here. There's a lot of manipulation going on there, and I think a lot of people with a pretty big incentive to keep that price up.
I missed my
Yeah, I haven't
Blur
I haven't paid
airdrop.
attention
I was
at all
in
to.
Europe.
Yeah, I gotta show you this because I mean it has been so low, and then just an absolute rocket middle of the month middle of October here. So I think the Blur token and the farming is back on the table, right? And I think
Quick
there's a lot of
question:
money that's coming. Yeah, go ahead.
did that correlate with the announcement of the end of season 2?
Close. It was maybe a week or two off. I can tell you this for sure. The end of season 2 definitely correlated with an increase of wash sales for sure. The price action, let me see, that was around, I think October 9th or so. I think around October 9th is when that announcement came, and then wash sales just started slowly ramping up. Then came the Blur pump. That was on the 18th. Let me see if I can fit all this. It's all in the same ballpark where it is all related for sure. When that happened, activity started declining on Friend Tech. It started coming back to NFTs. Wash sales started ramping back up, but then there was just this crazy Blur pump. So yeah, people are trying to fit in. They have 16 days left of season 2. I think people are grinding out whatever points they have left to grind out to make some money on this new next airdrop. But that is just part of this perfect storm of we'll have the new tax year in January. We're going to have these airdrops of probably Blur, of Friend Tech, the meme coin hopefully still running strong, and maybe some X factors out there that are not even on the radar yet, right? There's probably something. Here's something that I just saw this morning too it's a smaller sliver, but it is a piece. It's FX Hash's new Ethereum marketplace launching. FX Hash has done ridiculous numbers as the largest art marketplace on the Tezos blockchain. They have some of the biggest artists in the world, really, minting on the platform. There's going to be a frenzy there on December 1st, or at least I'll say within the first month or two, of artists who we've not seen in a while coming back to support FX Hash, minting some probably Grail collections. We're going to see, I just got to predict that we're going to see major gas wars going on in December. I think we'll see like a Grail Zancan drop and all kinds of artists, right? This might be timed perfectly with all those other factors. I think January is going to be big this year, guys. Gut feelings on even go the rest of this year, but maybe a perfect storm happening in January. Do you see that too? Oh, and I'm sorry, this is just as big of a piece. The Magic Eden marketplace may be the most significant part of that now. If collections start launching over there and earn their royalties, that's a different kind of back than we've seen in a year or so here, right?
Yes.
I agree with all that.
We got major FUD when we launched on Magic Eden, the Genkai collection. And I say major FUD, people are like, why'd you go to Magic Eden? Magic Eden's awesome. They have a fantastic team. I'm not surprised at all by the announcement with Yuga. They have a great team. They are so much more in touch with the marketplace. They're way more degen than OpenSea.
They're Web3 guys. Absolutely.
They're Web3. Yeah, they have a fantastic team over there. I think I think that marketplace could do really well. I'm happy for those guys, and I'm excited that they kind of teamed up to find a solution.
Yeah, I was really surprised about that, and it's so good for the space. I just wonder if that's going to bring life back into collections. Okay, working for the Crypto Bats, I really wonder if someone like the Crypto Bats, a perfect example, would remint the collection to make it exclusive to Magic Eden to get those royalties. I wonder if we'll start seeing that with some of the projects that do a ton of value. I don't mean to bring that full circle back to like the start of this show, but I think making money is probably top of the priority list for a lot of these projects, and they missed out on a lot this year. There's just a different kind of life that brings back to the space. Like Henry, if Kongs were making royalties on all of those trades, would the Kongs ecosystem look different right now? There's so much more the team could be building like actively, right? If there was that kind of extra money. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, we lose out on a lot. So every bit helps.
Just a rough guess. This year, how much would you say if you had royalties coming in, did you not make?
Well, I can tell you this. In 2021, I think our creator fees were around 3 million. In 2022, I think our creator fees were, let's just say 2.2 to 2.7 million. And in 2023, up until July, because I didn't really track post Genkai, $66,000.
Oh my God! Wow! Holy shit, man!
Sorry, I think it was 61,000. Like
That's
to go,
insane.
isn't that crazy?
Yep.
And you could time that perfectly with Blur and
It's
the creator fee wars between OpenSea and Blur. So yeah,
so.
to go from 7 figures down to 5
Would it be safe for me to
substantial.
say a lot of that money that you make on royalties, in a way, goes back to the community through events, through rewards, through you guys putting stuff in the play and collect, kind of pool, like prizes for people to win, all stuff that keeps people engaged and truthfully trading, right? Buying and playing the game, right? All that stuff goes
Absolutely.
right back to the community in a large way. If that all returns, then I think NFTs return in a way, unlike last January where we did pump, right? We had that January kind of rocket. It wasn't the same as 2022 though. It felt very different. In fact, I would say that right now the action in NFTs, even though it's half of the volume we were seeing earlier in the year, it feels way more organic, right? Right now feels very different from the beginning of the year. Again, that momentum timed with the start of a marketplace with royalties, with those other things. Yeah, I think January is looking very interesting. I do want to throw this little disclaimer there too. Um, there was someone I saw on Twitter who threw this out the other day, just as a good reminder. We're not done with SEC shit yet. We're not. Like, they still are pursuing Binance. They still are going after Coinbase. They're still. I had to even double check this. Like, what is the SEC looking into charges against Yuga Labs? And they are. There's still a case being open. I don't know. Like, I don't know to what degree. I don't know if they've wrapped it and they're just quiet about it. But in 2022, the SEC announced they were looking into Yuga Labs, and we've not heard anything since. I would say it's safe to assume that's still ongoing and that Yuga Labs assets could be considered securities. We've not dealt with that in the space yet. All we've dealt with is the very low hanging fruit of Stoner Cats and that founder's key. I forget their name. But there's a very low bar now of if you promoted secondary markets where you earn royalties, well, that's something the SEC could get you for. So I think people still need to be safe and realize that stuff's on the horizon too. Still, I think January's been pretty nice though.
Specifically, U.S. based projects.
Yeah,
Yuga being based in the U.S., whereas like captains are not and probably don't give a flying shit about the SEC.
yeah.
But yeah, Yuga's I'm certain that they're not done with Yuga because there hasn't been. Well, I can't say I'm certain. I would assume it's not done because if it was closed, you would think Yuga would announce that. If they settled, that would be public. And if there's same with if they file charges against them, civil. I'm not talking criminal. I'm talking if it's a civil charges and penalties being assessed.
Andrew makes an interesting point. I could see this. He says real world companies will only use Solana right now. They care about two things. They want to mint millions of NFTs for their product, and they want it to be the cheapest and the fastest. So Solana definitely wins in a few of those areas for sure. So yeah, Solana's another one of those things that I probably downplayed a little too much early on. They're Solana's positioned very, very well, and
But
I'll
Polygon,
say this: Polygon
like
seemed
to that, yeah, Solana hasn't. I'm not saying I disagree completely, but like there's already a use case in Polygon where the major brands have come in.
yep. And I'll say this:
So
behind the scenes, I know a lot of big companies have made a decision to focus on EVM chains and support EVM chains, not anything else. Like that has been a thing that's being talked about. What does that mean? It means if Solana wants to get integrated into the next big thing, well, I'm sure they'll get integrated because they're big enough, right? At this point, you can't exclude Solana, but it's going to take work and they'll probably be secondary behind getting all the EVM stuff up and running. So, how impactful is that and what does that all mean? I can't tell you. It's just something that I know is being focused on behind the scenes. EVM is the focus of some really major stuff out there. And Solana unfortunately suffers for that. Again, can't tell you how and why and the full impact, but it is something to just be aware of. That many people see EVM chains as the future. Okay. Perfect storm coming. I think we all probably agree there. So we'll move on. Let's just show 8Fest. Yeah, do we have to do 8Fest? And maybe Moisty, if you have anything to say about it, because you're probably our biggest Yuga guy
Nah,
here.
I mean, I think the main thing um, we covered already was Magic Eden's partnership and their marketplace opening up. I think that's the biggest news. Otherwise, I mean, it's a bunch of bros partying in Hong Kong. Um, they are having an other side playtest, but I can't take part in that as I'm not an ape or mutant. But it just seems like a bunch of people right there. Yep, that's
Yeah.
basically
Oh,
all
that's
you
cool.
could do. Um, Run
And
around
still,
this little. No, no, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to FUD it. Definitely not.
I'll fud it.
Have this for people that weren't able to make it to Hong Kong. Um, that's cool for the
Yep.
community for sure. But nothing to really report, to be honest with you. I think the Magic Eden thing was the big announcement,
That's the
personally.
big thing, dude. If they get
But I
ApeCoin
think
integrated for all project, buying any NFT, that's just so big for this. Yeah, Henry, go ahead.
I Draco brought up a good point yesterday about Ape Fest. One nice thing about it was that it showed that a lot of what people seem to be liking about Ape Fest is like there's a ton of side events going on. It's nice to see that you can have something big happening in Web3 that doesn't revolve around one of these cash grabby conferences like NFT NYC, NFT Paris, just any of those where people are paying a ton of money to walk through the doors and find out that there's actually not much inside that they give a shit about.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of cool that like the apes can kind of headline this event that other people can throw side events at, and it's just a time for Web3 people to get together. So from that perspective, I think it's a success.
This is
Yeah,
the
they
very thing
they
that those royalties power too. This is why those are needed to put on events like this. Not that they don't have money in the bank to be able to do it, but I don't. That's not sustainable. But with royalties, it is.
exactly.
Also, I
Yeah.
can't not cringe when I see stuff like this. I don't know, man.
Listen, yeah, the in-game, like I'm not an investor, so I can go hang out in a like I'm a gamer, so I have like I'm not playing it for fun, I'm playing it because I see potential in the possibility of making money. But people do like it for this, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just for me, it's it's cool. That's really it. It's cool, but
Yep.
I'm not gonna, you know, oh my god, we got to, you know, um, but yeah, it's definitely a step forward. I don't want to sound like I'm a brat right now. I probably do. It's definitely a step forward. Having people be able to take part in the event that weren't able to in real life. So, it's good. I'll leave it at that. It's good.
Yep. Any thoughts, cats?
No, I mean, I don't have any thoughts on. I have no part in Yuga. I mean, I wish I did, but
Yep. Yep.
I
Same
don't keep
boat.
up with it like that.
Yep. Okay. All right. Let's end then on a quick chat about on chain. The images on chain. Does that matter or does it not? Joe Rogan and Elon Musk on a podcast this week. They almost started the show with a quick conversation about NFTs, just a minute or so, but they were appreciating some Beeple art, and I think they focused or mentioned maybe the scammy side of NFTs, but ultimately Elon said that NFTs, that the images aren't even on chain. So when a project and the servers they're hosting images on go poof, which a lot of them still will, we've not really seen that yet, but they will. Well, the images go with it, and so to him, NFTs, the gist was NFTs kind of silly, kind of worthless because of that. I think there's some examples out there that show both sides of that. But a couple of examples I have here. All right. So an NFT with no image. Okay, if your Bored Ape lost its image, you still would get your hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of value in a token, in NFT airdrops, right? The image not important for that. We also have platforms like Blur who minimize the image. I'm going to pull it up while I'm talking, but the image is the smallest part of the trading action there, right? You go to a collection to trade it, and I've actually got the images set high, but you can set them to be no bigger than your pinky nail. People don't care about the images. They care about trading for profits. And we all know that. We all know that from being in the space for so long. It's very little to do with the image. In fact, a lot of rarity's gone out the window too. So it's not even the metadata or traits. It's
That's
just the
not that
token.
hasn't always been that hasn't always been true though. Like right now,
Right.
that's 100% accurate, 100 million% accurate. You could not have hit the nail on the head harder. But you go back to 2021,
Oh, the trait
and
game was the
people are
game.
the trait game was everything. You had you had a gold ape, then that shit went to Sotheby's and sold for over 1,000 ETH. So you're 100% accurate. But back in 2021, that was not definitely not
Yeah.
the case.
And hey, I do think that'll come back too. Only in the most prestigious collections, and also in, you know, maybe not even value-wise collections that people want to be in, like CryptoFunks, like just a cool community where you've always wanted to find your forever NFT.
Kitty
The traits
butts.
matter there for sure, right?
Kongs.
Kitty butts.
Kitty butts, yeah. Kongs, yes, all of those collect. There's always going to be some people who care about them, but a majority of the trading action, they're not really there for them. And a lot of NFTs can be called meme coins or shit coins. Flooring protocol that's fractionalizing NFTs is just another piece of evidence for that. So the flip side, though, is art, or not even the flip side, but just the other component is art, where the image is what people are buying. Even then, I still argue it's the record of ownership that matters more. So, like, here's like a little exercise. If you buy, well, throw out your favorite artist, guys. Like, just picture if you had a very expensive NFT from an artist, who would it be, and what would it be?
I want a squiggle. I want a squiggle.
Okay. Let's do the squiggle example. Those are on chain, but if they were not, and the image of your squiggle went away, your NFT still you have the token. It still shows you bought it and when you bought it and when it changed hands. And if Snowfro happened to either mint a second NFT or actually emailed you, I guess the JPEG of it, right? Does that kill the value entirely, or does it maintain it? Like, what does that look like if your token is still there and it's verified that you own it? It just happens to not be the original image that, truthfully, I don't know. Would people actually care about that? Is it the
Well,
record
here,
of ownership that people would care about?
I'll pose this question to you. If all of these projects originally launched without art, NFTs never would have been a thing. If I came out and I was like, hey, I'm coming out with a project called Bored Ape Yacht Club. It costs 0.05 ETH. And when you mint it, you get a token that says Bored Ape 9525. And that's all you got, like Elon says, then we never would have taken off in the first place. NFTs never would have been a thing. So the pictures, the art is what got us off the ground. Now, 3 years later, we're realizing that what Elon said has been true. It has been true since the launch of every project. But without the art, we never would have taken off, because all it would have been was, hey, congratulations, you own one token of 10,000, and that's it. You know, that's why certain projects succeeded, because people love the art, and certain projects failed, didn't mint out, because people were like, people aren't going to buy that. We're not going to, take the risk.
Yeah, I think there's
Can't
a
the
lot of truth
contract
there.
can't the contract just point to a new server database?
That I don't know. So certain ones, yes, right? Like, just like we've seen, you can update metadata.
Yeah.
I don't think you can always. I think it depends on how you minted the contract. But this, I don't actually know. You would think, in theory, they could point it to a new server, or they can repin the image up on IPFS. That's something they can do too. But there are instances where I think it's pretty well set, and especially something that's minted maybe on OpenSea, where I think they host the images. Like, if they go out of business, then they're screwed.
Well, I don't know of any projects right now that have not migrated off of OpenSea that anybody cares about.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm going to ask Owl. I want to ask Owl that. Like, we use a lot of proxies, which I think allow us to be able to change certain elements of it. But also, we put, like, the Genesis collection is on-chain art. That's why you have the on-chain Kongs. I'm going to find out from him, though, because to me, I kind of look at it like, well, if Verizon's towers go down, would I still get rid of their service, or am I just going to bounce off of AT&T's? Like, do I care?
So a couple points here. Give me the loot, pointing to Autoglyphs, which yes, fully on chain, and kind of like CryptoPunks, both on chain. Autoglyphs are the first fully on chain generative art. Pretty incredible. And Gravity says he thinks you need to migrate to a new contract to change image servers. So yeah, could be true. It's just interesting. And then I do think there's an element of, okay, this is one of those examples where there are multiple things that are true, right? So often the image doesn't matter. Sometimes it does. V1 punks are a really interesting example of if the token itself matters more, right? And ultimately, it's up to the creator, but also for the market itself, the collector, to decide if it matters or not. So V1 punks are the original minted CryptoPunks. Well, the Larva Labs team said, okay, even though you have that NFT, it has no value because we're saying it has no value. And now the value shifted to the V2 punks. Well, the community says they do have value. They don't care if the image is, well, the image happens to be there. Let's pretend it's not. They think the provenance of the token itself has value. And so we see those have like a 3 to 4 ETH floor. So that is an interesting example where both sides are true at the same time, right? So we're going to have all kinds of examples, I think, over the next few years when these images do start disappearing to see how much those images really matter. I do know, though, that the Ordinals community is taking full advantage of this narrative of this being like a mainstream conversation now. And they're showing that the, I guess, primary use case of Ordinals is that it is all on chain. So if it matters, maybe it's their selling point at the very least, right? They actually Leonidas inscribed Elon Musk's conversation onto the blockchain there. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, it doesn't matter or not. Honestly, I lean more towards that it doesn't matter. Some of that is maybe wishful thinking, but I like the example of if my art, my like fine art disappears, in a court of law, this would stand up if I'm emailed the file. If I am emailed, as shitty as that might sound, if the image, if I never saved it, the artist emails it to me and I have the token that says I own it anyways, I think that would hold up in a court of law. And so I would argue that ultimately, right, if push comes to shove, it doesn't matter. The image being on chain does not matter. Final take.
So, do you think? I don't. It was interesting when this came out because in some other circles I'm in, a lot of people didn't even know what IPFS was, and a lot of people were like, "What is he talking about?" And like, it made me think. I'm like, I don't know. So even like when we all minted cyber brokers, it was so cool that it was all on chain, right? And I sold cyber brokers long ago at almost 4 ETH, and now they're at like 0.2. Do people really care that it's all on chain? I don't know. This one's interesting because I just think, a lot of the old, like the OGs, like from before us, that the tech side of that matters. But I don't think a lot of the people that have come in over the last year or two, whatever, like they care about the money side. Like they don't, do they really care about the tech? I don't know. Like it's a mixed bag. And I think, like you said, it matters what people value. And I think everybody values things differently.
It's probably, we'll go in, just like we see with the NFT market, there's different metas at different times. I think there will be different times where on-chain matters and when on-chain doesn't. And, like one day, I believe Avastars will have their time in the spotlight and be a very, very prestigious collection. But maybe this argument just always going to shift. It's just going to go with the flow. Right now, it just happens to be like the mainstream topic. So everybody's talking about how important it is. And I think historically we've seen it's not. Again, I still think it is not, but I think that's going to change over time.
Imagine if Avastars became that type of NFT collection that it really should be, where 3 years from now or when there's another bull run, that people kind of rediscover those and that they become like a CryptoPunk or an ape style notoriety, because they really should. The whole process that they used, the historical provenance of it all. I don't know. It's just so weird that they're so low. I was telling a story yesterday about how you would grind Avastars for like days. I'm like, when I say days, like literally days where you would call and you're like, man, I got to go to bed. And it's like 8 a.m. You're like, I got to go to bed. I've been up for 3 days. And like my eyes actually like hurt. Like they're like throbbing in my skull because you were just scrolling Avastars and consigning shit. It was, yeah, I think there's something there to projects like Avastars. Are they fully on chain?
Fully on chain. They're SVG files, just like CryptoPunks in a way. I think they're stored a little different, but they're fully on chain. Cyber Brokers fully on chain. Those projects will have their time in the sun for sure. Dude,
I just saw you're wearing your CK About You. I am also wearing my CK About You hoodie. Looks good on you.
Kongs have the best merch. I wear this all the time. I have 3 of these shirts, and my kids and my wife try to take them and wear them. And I've never pounced on them so fast to take them off. Because like I know I'm going to wear this one out, and I've got my backup and my backup and my backup of my backups, and they're my favorite shirts. Yeah, dude, I wear this all the time. I'm always wearing a Kongs hoodie or the T-shirt. Best merch. All right, guys, any other topics?
No, man. Thank you for having me, though. This has
No,
been,
we've covered a lot.
great
Yeah.
start to my morning.
These are fun. I really like doing these. Yeah, I think Saturday's the way to go. Again, maybe we'll find a different time because I don't want it to be super inconvenient. This just happens to work for me pretty well. Got a lot more show ideas too, though. And Henry, actually, you guys all know some of the things that are cooking. Some pretty fucking interesting shows coming up, I think. So that should be pretty fun. I'm
No,
just
you're doing
thinking one
awesome,
last
man.
minute.
They were talking about you in a voice chat last night in the Kongs Discord,
Oh,
and
cool.
your link was getting passed around. Yeah, no, people are really digging your NFT LDR or NFT Insight,
Yeah.
whichever one it is.
Yeah, which it's even that name's gonna change at some point too. Yeah, I think that's cool as hell. And then even like I joined those again, something you guys know, but I joined these guys last week for the first time. I think they've been enjoying it so far. Like I know I bring a little like the market side to these conversations. So I've been joining these guys. Was I on this one? Yeah, this one I was on and I had to boogie a little early. They're honestly pretty damn cool. And they know their stuff. I think all of us have been in for a long while though, and we've got a pretty cool perspective to bring people. But yeah, been having fun chatting with these guys. That's a Monday through Thursday show, NFT Live. And but I think there's more coming, guys. Like I love doing the show. So I've got some more shows cooking. But the best part about this show is you guys coming on. That was always the idea, was for us to spin up a show where it's not community people, I should say project people, founders, not them coming on. I want the community to come on and chat about this stuff. And I don't think there's been enough of that yet. So this is just the start of that. So thank you guys for coming on and chatting about all this stuff.
Thank
Your
you, man.
insight is very valuable to me.
Look forward to next week. Love what you're doing. I know I said that before, but cheers, brother.
Yep. Cheers and thank you guys. All right. I think then we are going to call it a day. I hope you have a great Saturday and a great weekend. Tomorrow, 5-minute video in the morning again. NFT market, NFT updates, all the happenings. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Have a good weekend.